All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Metal Jesus Rocks panel. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have to be honest, it is trippy to have my own panel at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I mean, it's awesome to have you guys here and part of this, so thank you very much. We are going to do a podcast talking about collecting video games, and we're going to share some of our tips and tricks for doing so. I want to introduce these people here, these fine people. First of all, of course, I'm Jason Metal Jesus, and a little history of myself. I used to work at a company called Sierra Online back in the 90s when they moved their corporate headquarters up to Bellevue, Washington. Thank you. And there I met some awesome people, including my wife Rebecca down here in the front, the big JB, Drunken Master Paul right there, and a bunch of other people that I've stayed lifelong friends with. And so I've been a gamer and a collector my whole life. And I've been very blessed and pleased to have other game collectors come and help me out with my YouTube channel. And we're going to start with Kinsey Burke here.
Hey, everybody.
And so Kinsey has a long history of gaming as well. I originally met her when she was a manager of Another Castle, which is a retro gaming store up in Edmonds, Washington.
Yep.
And to give you guys kind of an idea about sort of our collections and stuff, I was going to kind of ask you first here, like what are some of the things that you like to collect for, or maybe a highlight of your collection?
I'm a big fan of not trying to go for a complete collection on any certain system. I just kind of collect what I like. So actually right now I'm trying to complete my Sailor Moon collection. So all the Sailor Moon games, which is awesome. So
I know, and she asked me, she's like, should we do a Sailor Moon video? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, sure, you know.
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. That's usually the case. So, and then we have Reggie Williams here. And so I met Reggie when he was working at this little hole in the wall, and I'm talking a hole in the wall. I had to drive past it 3 times to find it.
Oh, nice.
Called D-Pad in Burien. And
Yeah, it's like if there's 2 people in there and the store was full, it's pretty bad.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I thought it might be a scam because it was on Craigslist. I'm like, are they just gonna take my wallet, tip me upside down, and shake out the money? I have no idea, right? But going in there though, Reggie was one of the coolest and nicest guys and most knowledgeable dudes, and so I was really happy to have him help me with my channel.
Mm-hmm. Started sharing knowledge on a bunch of Saturn games.
Yeah.
I remember that were really rare at the time, so that was cool.
So I tell people what are some things that you like to collect?
Well, I'm a big Sony PlayStation guy. The PlayStation 1 is my favorite system of all time. And it was pretty much easy to collect for at the time because I was buying games when they first came out and stuff. But around maybe 2011, I started looking into other games systems like Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Sega Genesis. It's right around the time when that I don't know if you guys remember this, but on the news when they they announced that someone sold a stadium events for $5,000, and people went crazy and they started turning over their attics and stuff. So around that time is when it got kind of hot. So that's when I started hunting games. So.
And working in a retro gaming store doesn't hurt because people are bringing it to you, right. So which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that was the best part.
All right, and then last but certainly not least is the immortal John Hancock. And so I met John at one of the first Seattle Retro Gaming Expos. He had a corner booth and he was selling his DVDs that he made, basically covering his collection. John, at the time, you had 10,000 games.
Oh, not at the time. I currently have approximately, but but yeah,
a lot.
I haven't counted a lot.
A lot, but and then he was such a cool guy, just such a warm, knowledgeable dude, willing to share all his basically everything he knows about systems. And so you invited us down to Longview and hang out and visit your room of doom, which was awesome. He has an entire garage basically converted over into a game room.
And expanding it this summer. Yeah, and expanding it.
So John, I'm going to ask you, what do you specialize in? What do you kind of go for when collecting?
I don't know. I used to specialize in things, and I've completed now 24 U.S. collections. So I do complete sets. I do one day want to have a museum. I'm collecting to further promote education. I teach at Portland Community College. And so the short answer is I like to collect anything that's interesting, and I don't really try to pigeonhole myself into being either a Nintendo collector or a Sega collector because my collection encompasses quite a bit. I would pretty safe to say I don't collect arcade stand-ups because I don't have the space. I do have a lot of vintage computers, but I specifically probably stick to handhelds and consoles from 72 all the way up to current. And so if I was to specialize.
But do you really consider yourself like a Sega guy, right?
I know my Sega pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I collect Nintendo just as much. You know, I'm less than 100 boxes away from a CIB Nintendo US set.
Yeah.
And so I found 7 boxes today, affordably, and so I'm very excited about that.
Which brings up another point, is that when you start hearing about these collectors that have a lot of games and maybe some rare games, I think one of the first questions we certainly get is, are you rich? I mean, that's what people assume, right? And the answer is no. What we are is we are patient. And that's really, I think, the number one tip I can give pretty much anybody, is that I've been collecting for 30 years on some levels. I mean, I was collecting the Commodore 64 back when I was in high school. And that's kind of what it takes, is that you can be rich and you can jump out onto eBay if you have the ability to do so and buy entire lots or collections. But I don't have that kind of money, and it's certainly really not that much fun. I think, personally myself, it's the hunt of the games is so much fun to do, to have like a short list of things I'm looking for and try to get them.
Yeah, the thrill of the hunt.
Thrill the hunt.
Definitely.
Yeah.
To leave not knowing what you're going to find and then come home with something that you didn't know you expected is such a great feeling. And, you know, holding that in person or finding it in a place that's unusual is the greatest feeling.
It is. So what we're going to do today is kind of talk about some of the 10 tips that I covered in a video a little while back about just game collecting. The tip number one, I think for me, is networking. We were just talking about this actually, is that you need to let people know that you are a game collector and not just your close friends, right?
Yeah, definitely anyone, your family, your non-gaming friends, because
Right.
then when they see games, they're going to think of you, and they don't know the value or they don't care,
Yeah.
and they're like, hey, I found these games, and I thought of you. And then it happens.
They're going to say it like that.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah, it's true though. So for instance, coming to this expo, the one game I was looking for, it's not really super rare. It's just hard to find. It's called Elemental Gearbolt, which is a light gun shooter for the PlayStation 1.
It's a good game.
Yeah, it's an awesome game. I actually originally played this when John brought it over. John brings games over and teases, all right? Let's be honest. You know, that's his job. But he brought it over, played it. It's so unusual. It's kind of like a light gun shooter, but it has RPG elements to it. Amazing game, right? And so about a week ago, I posted on Facebook in the Seattle Gaming Forum saying, I just was like, listen, if anyone's got a copy, please, you know, bring it down to Portland. I'd love to buy it. And a friend of ours, Ben, good friend of yours, Reggie, actually had it, right?
Yeah, Jesse had it.
Oh, is it Jesse?
Yeah, Jesse had it.
Yep. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good up.
And so that's a way of sort of networking. This has also benefited me too, in that my wife is a real estate agent, and we had a client who was selling their house, and they just didn't want to have their collection anymore. He didn't care. He works at Google. He doesn't want to go through the hassle of selling it. He probably doesn't have the time to sell it. And so he gave me an entire collection of PlayStation 1 games.
Oh, nice.
And it was all the really awesome ones. And I remember I was picking them up, I was like shaking, my hands were shaking. I'm like, do you want some money for these, man? You know, but that's the thing though, is that those collections are out there, and they just need to know that you're looking for it. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So the next thing on the list, if I can bring up my phone here, was also basically talking about social media and the importance of that. So I know, Reggie, you're a big part of Seattle Retro Expo.
Yeah, and I pretty much network to like games I want, you know, or what I'm looking for. I usually post a lot of stuff to just spread the information about stuff, you know, to get everybody knowing about it. Because what I do is I like to if I like a game a lot and I feel like somebody else will like it as well, I like post it and talk about it a little bit, so then they'll start looking for it, and they'll, you know, we share our opinions on it, which is cool. So I like doing that.
I want to add to that it's important, I think, to narrow down your searches and possibly have a list that you can provide to people, whether it's online or social media or it's great to people ask me all the time, what are you looking for? And so I'm able to copy and paste my list that I've made and to give it to people. And it's helpful because then that clearly communicates what you're looking for, and giving those lists to stores that you give business to, and they can keep that when they get new product in. They can see, oh, okay, this person's looking for this list, and it's helpful. It's helped me score many things.
Yeah, so he mentioned stores, and that can be a huge one, is that, just be friendly and make friends with some of the local stores in your area. Not just retro stores, but also perhaps pawn shops or stores that, kind of like Classics in Longview. They collect vinyl, and it just so happens I love collecting vinyl. And so a good friend of ours, Corey, today, brought in a bunch of classic 70s Kiss albums that he just knew I was going to dig, right? And I was thrilled to death. It's awesome. I know. I was giddy when he busted those out. So, but just kind of, again, that's part of the networking and letting people know that you're looking for stuff. I'm always looking for big box PC games from the 80s and 90s, and there's thankfully not a lot of people who are looking for those. So a lot of people will come to me and say, "Hey, we found these there, and are you interested in them?" So
Stuff like that, and Laserdisc too.
Oh yeah, you
Cool.
collect
So,
Laserdiscs. That's
Laserdisc,
right.
yeah. So
I know when you told me that, I'm like, Laserdisc, really?
yeah, when you watch a Laserdisc, and how you have to flip it over. At least you'll know halfway through if you want to finish the movie.
Oh, nice.
Is it worth the
Natural
effort?
break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
finish it or not.
Or go to the bathroom, essentially.
Well, the other thing about Laserdisc too is there's some great 80s and 90s cheese that didn't get released anywhere else, and so you can watch some obscure science fiction movie that's only on Laserdisc, because your VHS player is like toast or something. It's it's fun. That's a fun side collection to have.
It's a really cool retro item. It just feels like. I like DVDs and Blu-rays too, but the Laserdisc just seems like it's whole.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And you can buy them relatively cheap.
Yeah,
usually.
$2, $3, but $5 at the most.
Yeah. Huh, that's cool. The other thing too, we were just talking about this, is that sometimes even obscure stuff. So for instance, Kinsey, you're looking for Engage games.
Yeah, I'm walking the show floor looking for Engage stuff.
Have you found any yet?
I found one booth that had some, but not the 2 games I'm looking for.
Tell the audience what 2 games, because maybe they have them.
I'm looking for Elder Scrolls on the Engage. You guys see it?
Yeah.
Let me know.
I didn't even know that they made an Elder Scrolls game on Engage.
2 of them.
That's crazy. Are they any good?
Probably not.
One, I can attest that it's actually one of the games is actually decent.
Oh, really?
Yeah?
But to Engage had graphics kind of like PlayStation 1, but for
Wait,
the time it was ahead of its time.
So do you have these games?
I have a complete Engage collection.
Kinsey, have you talked to
Well, hello.
John down there? Swap seats here?
Hello. No, it's I collect Pong machines and everybody kind of gives me crap about it, but it's but I found something at the show for $5 that someone graciously was happy to sell to me what he paid for it, and you just have to find those things that it kind of when everybody's collecting one particular thing, you're going to pay top dollar because you're competing with 8 other collectors that are trying to collect the same thing. Try to find, the things in the hobby that maybe not be as popular, but you still like, because you're going to get better deals collecting those items. Nobody cares about Pong units. There's Pong units out there, but they're fun to collect because I enjoy the aesthetics and the physical, appearance of these different Pong units. I'm building a separate room that's going to have a lot of my better conditioned Pong machines out on display.
That is a little odd, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think by odd you mean awesome.
Yeah.
How much Pong can you play?
Yeah, but it's just it represents a time period in which copyright was kind of out the window.
Yeah.
And but I'm gonna have other things in there too, like Neo Geo and Nintendo and Sega,
Right.
but the Pong machines are the things that really get me excited, like your Kiss albums.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I have no room to talk. So I guess that kind of moves into one of my points is that when everyone is going right, go left. And what I mean by that is that, often it can be really satisfying collecting for systems that maybe are not as popular. For me, I talk about it all the time, that's the PSP. I think the PSP is one of the funnest
Awesome
handhelds
system.
to collect for. And out there, I bought a bunch of them for $5 a piece today, you know. And they're good. They're fun to play.
Yeah,
you
there's
know?
some awesome games on the PSP.
Yeah, a ton of like role-playing games
Yep.
and racing games and stuff like that. Definitely one of the more fun to collect for me. Also, Game Boy Advance is another one.
Yep.
We're gonna
Yeah.
be like really easy to collect for and not too expensive.
It's the window of time, and to add to what Jason's saying, you know, there's a window of time to collect things. You know, those systems aren't too old yet, so they haven't like appreciated a ton in value. They're old, but they're not too old, so people have them. Their stock is decent. You're usually not paying too much for good quality games. You know, a lot of people are now starting to collect Game Boy Advance because Super Nintendo's value is skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's true.
You can get a lot of the great games on Game Boy Advance, and it's a lot cheaper, and it's portable. So,
The other thing too, which can be a nice little handy tip, is to buy in parts. I know John does this a lot. A lot of people do. Is that, you know, ultimately it'd be pretty cool to have complete in box of whatever game, you know, Super Nintendo on. But often it's a lot easier to get the cart and then maybe the box later and then possibly the manuals and stuff like that. A lot of the vendors out here have the manuals by themselves and for, you know, a couple dollars.
yeah. pretty
Same
cheap.
thing with systems too. Because
Oh,
some
yeah.
people are like, oh, well, I have the Super Nintendo, but it doesn't have any of the hookups, so I'll sell it for cheap, like way cheaper.
Right.
So that happens too.
This is like the perfect event to come to, the piece stuff together, like boxes, manuals, and stuff like that. You know, they're on the cheap, so $1, $2 at the most. You know, for all you people who like to collect, like, you know, complete in box or, you know, stuff like that.
CIB.
This is the time to do it, I think, at events like this.
Yeah, and John often will, I've seen you do this where you'll do it in that, but you'll also upgrade stuff.
Oh
So-
yeah, condition upgrade. It's always fun because then what I like to do is I'll take a game that I've had a long time in my collection and either trade it to someone who's been looking for it, and they're just happy to have a game, you know, or I'll give it away, or trade it or sell it cheap. But you know, it's a great thing to always be on the lookout for parts because, you know, I've pieced several of my Genesis games together, and a lot of them look really in good shape now because, you know, I got the manual somewhere, I got the spine artwork another place, upgraded the box, and I typically only try to upgrade the box from the same game. I'm kind of particular about that, so I don't try to piecemeal out from a different game. It has to be from that particular game. That way it's authentic.
Of course you do.
Of course.
That's
But-
adorable.
But everybody's got their thing. Everybody's got their thing, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
I'm just jealous, that's the only thing.
Oh no,
All love, buddy.
I know. Pat.
The other thing is, and I've noticed this at this expo, is if you can or you have the desire, buy imports, especially when it comes to NES and Super NES games. I've been shocked to see how many like Super Famicom games are out there. There's hundreds of them,
Yeah, and they're way cheaper.
way cheaper. So it's definitely a good way to go. The challenge is, of course, is to play Japanese games. There's a couple ways you can do it. I've mentioned this before. The Retron 5, it's not the best built console really, but what it does is pretty amazing. Like it plays 10 different systems. So when you can play not only just North American, but you can play European games, you can play Japanese games. It's pretty impressive for the cost.
And soon to be Game Gear too.
Yes,
Yep.
that's right.
Yeah, can't wait.
Nice.
See, we're ahead of the curve there.
Can't wait.
And who has a Retron 5 here? Who's done the Konami code on the menu screen? Do the Konami code on the menu screen. You might be surprised who you see.
Oh, wow.
So,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You beta tested that.
Yeah. I worked with them on helping with their Nintendo compatibility, and my image of me in my game room kind of got snuck in there.
That's cool. Will you sign mine?
So I don't know how it happened.
And then I guess I just kind of want to go back to get to know again some of the vendors and some of the store owners. I'm amazed how many times some of the best finds in my game room come from people like, you know, Corey from Classics or some of the local stores like that. It's worth getting to know those people and having them look out for you, because really they want to sell games. So if they come in the store or someone brings a box of games to them, their number one thing is they just want to be able to sell it to somebody. And if they know that there's people out there collecting for TurboGrafx or whatever, that's a benefit to them. And they will, in my experience, they'll let you know.
Oh yeah.
And you find some good stuff that way, which is awesome. So
Video game wizards out here had to, like, you could grab a bunch of stuff for really cheap, and it's a great way to pick up stuff. And they like helping collectors out, and a lot of credit goes to them, this show even happening, because they fronted that first year show. So I have to say a shout out to them, because they're wonderful people. They love helping collectors, and there's some wonderful vendors here today. So yeah.
So that's kind of what we had planned for today. We have about 15 minutes, and if you have questions for us, we would love to take them. So first hand up right there.
All right, kind of a couple of quick ones. The first one is, what do you use to keep track of your collection? I've had a few situations where I go in and I see a game and I go, oh, hey, it's that game. I love that game. Pick up that game. Go home and cover, oh, I own this game. Give the exact same conditions.
Never happened to me. I don't know.
Face palm.
The second question being is, what solutions do you use to storing your game, particularly if you have a substantial collection and not all of them are stuff that you display?
Why don't you take this one, Kinsey?
Well, my old apartment was 340 square feet. So I got really creative with storage boxes, but the ones that still look kind of nice. So yeah, pretty much I display the stuff I want to look at all the time, because let's be honest, I really like looking at my collection, and I'm pretty sure most people do. Like, I think some of the games I've never even opened, I'm like, those are some nice looking games. So I display some of the stuff, but other stuff is just in storage boxes, up on the top of shelves and things like that. There's basically games everywhere. And as far as how do you organize your collection and know what you have, I don't, and I do that all the time. You know how many Jade Empires I have? It's embarrassing.
But it's a good game.
It is a good game. I don't need 10 of them, but it's a good game.
For me, I'm mostly Mac, and because of that, there's an application on Mac. It's called Delicious Library, and what's great about it is that you can scan everything in. So you literally just hold everything up, scan, scan, scan.
Jeff Gerstmann uses that.
What's that?
Jeff Gerstmann, the Giant Bomb, uses that.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And the other thing is it has a one-button publish, so you can publish out to an FTP site or a website or whatever. So that's typically what I do, and it's pretty awesome. So
There's another one on the iPhone. It's called Game Vault. It's free, but the only thing with it, sometimes it freezes sometimes, but it's a good app.
that's because your phone is old.
I know, it's iPhone 4S, but pretty solid app. You can look at history of games or pictures and stuff like that, screenshots. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
And it keeps your inventory of games, like how many Super Nintendo games you have, stuff like that. So
Any PC or Android suggestions?
I have paper suggestions. So I'm the binder guy. And I go old school because there's not an accurate list out there for me, for what I collect. It just isn't. And so I made my own list.
Check box on the board is, oh, here's what I happen to have.
And it's still faster. I can flip that out, and it came in handy today, and I was able to go right to what I was missing, and it's all, old school binder, and I've done it for 13 years now, and don't look back.
There is a site, and I checked it out a while ago, and it's called Collectors with a Z, collectors.com. That's a pretty impressive site. Now, you have to pay for it, but in my mind, I think if you're serious about collecting, don't be afraid of paying for something if you're going to use it a lot, especially if it's going to be supported really well. So Collectors is a site that I do recommend, and it covers every system. It's not going to go as deep as what John Hancock needs, but I think it would probably help most people. So,
Yeah.
And it's a website, but I think they also have an app, and it's definitely for Android.
You guys are also organized. I just rebuy everything on accident.
A funny story about my game room is that my game room is pretty organized 99% of the time. I'm going to tell my wife here because she worked with it was a professional organizer, right? And this professional organizer came over to our house, not to look at my game room, but just to kind of look at stuff. And Rebecca asked her, she's like, "Is there anything that Jason could do better for the game room?" She's like, "No." It's pretty. Yeah, she was pretty impressed, which I was like, really, that's kind of cool.
Nice.
I still need more room, but yeah. Next question.
I had,
oh.
so thoughts on some of the counterfeiting that's going on with some of the higher end items.
Okay.
Wow.
The example I would give is, if you look at Neo Geo, I sold my AES stuff.
Mhm.
If you guys ever want to do Neo Geo, arcade all the way, to give you an idea, cheap cards are $50. That's entry level.
Right.
So when you take a game like the original Metal Slug, which people played at Big Red Machines,
Yep.
arcades growing up, a original copy of AES for Metal Slug is $1,000 game. It's legit $1,000. And the problem is there are games like that, people are bootlegging. And you can buy them on a forum, people don't know they have bootleg, and
Yep.
boom, you get a $1,000 game. Unless you look at the inside, you look at the chips, you have no idea if it's accurate.
I think you nailed it, and so I'm going to tell this to everybody. If they don't show you the insides, and you can't validate that it's legit, then you don't buy from them. And whatever the excuse is, oh, I don't have access to tools. Well, sorry, I'm not going to give you my hundreds of dollars for high-end stuff. And I would recommend that with Super Nintendo and some other things. There's sites that show the legitimate boards. There's fakes out there. Be cautious. I think it's perfectly respectful to see the inside and ask us to take a pic. We've caught some scammers recently because of that, because they wouldn't show the insides of a board.
If they're legit, they'll be happy to open it for you. So don't feel bad if they say they can't open it right away. If they don't want to open it for whatever reason, don't even bother with them.
It's funny you mentioned that because a friend of ours, Crazy Hothead Joe, was posting on, and that's a term of endearment, trust me. He really is crazy. In a
I
good
thought
way.
I saw him in here too.
He's like, he might actually be in here.
There he is.
There he
Yeah,
is.
I thought I saw him.
It's crazy. Awesome dude, but the reason why I'm pointing you out is because on Facebook in the Seattle Gamer Forum, his sole post on this was a picture of the screw to bring it here to open stuff.
Yeah.
So he's serious. So, which I loved. I thought that was awesome.
Hey, one of our friends has a keychain on his neck.
Yeah.
Walks around with that, so he's ready.
Chris.
You choose one. There we go.
Is it possible to actually duplicate the internals when we're talking about piracy? Can they actually make it look authentic? So we can get the point where you use that part of it.
So the question is it possible to make it look completely legit?
I don't think so yet. I don't think so yet. Usually when you see a bootleg, it looks like crap inside, and it's cheap, and it's they're doing that so that they can maximize their profits. I think that there's been times in which it's been close, but we're not 100% yet.
Cool. Yes.
Do you guys have collectively a preferred list of this is really cool, but it may not have the value what's collectible? And I'm just curious if you have a top 3, and this could span all the systems. So
Oh, geez.
whatever you
That's a
say.
tough one.
Is this stuff? So is the question do we have a list of games we're looking for, or
No, systems that
You're
bet
this
top.
Is cool. Well, this is cool. It's worth $2, but
Oh.
it's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Or it could be worth $100 and it's really cool.
Good and cheap
Because
games.
we all have the collectability. You guys talk about, or you folks talk about the complete set, but it's at the end of the day, who cares? I want to play something. What do I dig? What's the top 3? And it may not be collectible. I'm just curious to get that stand out.
Great question.
The only thing I can really think of that I just think is always just so cool is the Commodore 64 Infocom games.
Oh, yeah.
They're not incredibly expensive, but they come with all the freelies. And going through those for some reason, it's, I don't know. I'm just I'm like a kid on Christmas. I paid $20 for this game, and I'm just going to look at the map, and I'm going to look at all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty much that kind of thing. It's not worth a lot, but I always love looking at it, and I always love going through them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the reasons why I like collecting big box PC games, because that is not unusual. That was the normal back in the
Yep.
day. Is that when they sold you a game, it had a bunch of cool stuff in there, and it was an event. It didn't just come with a paper manual or whatever. It usually came with a bunch of cool stuff, and Infocom certainly did it better than any, because every one of those games was special.
It's like the LP. You open the big LP,
Yep.
and you're wow, look at the manual. And,
Yeah, and that's the reason why I like collecting in vinyl, to be honest, is because, yes, I mean, technically there are perhaps higher, better resolutions of the audio itself, but I just love seeing that artwork. The artwork meant something, and the lyrics were printed on the inside, and you kind of got into who made that album, who were the band members and stuff, and so that's kind of missing from games a little bit today.
That's what's cool to me about collecting the retro games. A lot of the I'll just throw out there 1987, 1988. It's like, who was making this music? Who was making this, the graphics? And the
Yeah.
sets? So,
Yep. Yeah. You choose.
Right here down in front.
What was your favorite hidden gem video you guys ever made?
Well, that's hard to do because I can't pick one over these guys. The one with Kinsey, of course. No,
Obviously.
Reggie. And I'm curious what you guys think.
My favorite hidden gems is probably now I'm thinking about
See?
it.
Yeah.
You know,
The one that hasn't come out?
yeah, that one was good. I'll have to say the 2D fighting hidden gems one was one of my favorite ones to do.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I think for me it's probably the 64 hidden gems. Just because like that system has
have one.
so much nostalgia for me that when I was going through my games, I was just like remembering everything. Like even if I didn't end up picking that game, like I picked up Buck Bumble and I was like, oh my God, I remember the rap from this game and it was so good. Like, so that one just had so much nostalgia and it was like a really good feeling going through all that and having to pick them.
Genesis. Oh, Genesis. I mean, Genesis to me has so many hidden gems. It kind of gets overshadowed by the top quality of Super Nintendo. But if you really dig into the Genesis library, there's so many great, like, I would say like 8 out of 10 games that are fantastic that aren't found on Super Nintendo. And so it's really neat to see that more and more people are collecting Genesis. You know, partially because probably Super Nintendo is so expensive now. But it's great. It's great to see that.
And I think as far as videos go in general, some of the most enjoyable ones to make, to both film and edit, are the I Hate You episodes and the Gamer Eats episodes, because I do those primarily with Paul, but also my wife is on camera, and it's completely nuts. Like, we literally don't know how that's going to go. We don't know who's going to win. Nothing is staged in that. And then, yeah, and they're so much fun because then I get to take all this film and sort of edit it down to something people might actually watch, but super fun to make. Super fun. Yes? You're going to ask me the Atari question, aren't you?
Yes.
How'd I know?
What was your first game you
Okay, now you're just making it up. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What was your first game you ever played?
So, I'm old. I have gray hair. It's here. You can't see it, but it's here. I mean, the very first game I remember, probably being small and, you know, holding on controllers like this, was probably Space Invaders, like at a like Pizza Hut, you know. And back then, I don't know if you remember, but Space Invaders had black and white, and it had print around it to kind of give it depth. So it actually had like the moon, you know, like mountains and stuff around it. And I just remember it being magical. And I remember burning through my mom's money big time. And then much soon after that, it was the Atari 2600, and I was hooked. I was off. So.
First game I ever played was Zelda on the NES. Because we originally got the NES for my dad. And then I was just like, no, this is awesome. So, and at first I wasn't allowed to play till he beat Zelda, but I snuck in a few hours, so it was all right.
From what I remember, mine was the arcade Punch-Out. My brother worked at a pizza shop, and he would babysit me while he was working. So I went over to the arcade, and I like pushed the chair together, stood up, and was playing the game. And I got pretty far in it, and it was pretty cool. What I remember about it is because a lot of people like came and started cheering me on because I was this kid.
That's awesome.
And you know,
You were a star
I remember
even
that,
then.
you know. And I got pretty far in the game, but I never beat it. But it was just a good feeling. So I would have to say Punch-Out.
Nice.
Pong for me.
Of course.
Pong,
Duh.
Pong and Pong and Pong. And besides Pong, Castlevania on Nintendo. So I remember playing with my cousin's Combat on the 2600, but really in my own home. It's like kind of two tiers. So in my home, my dad brought home Castlevania for Nintendo and said, I heard this is good. And I was in shock because my dad hated games. And like, I don't know, it was like, you know, the planets were aligning that day, and he brought that home, and I was like, this is like the best thing ever. Graphics can't get better.
I thought that every like gaming iteration, like I'm like, I remember Zelda on the 64, and I was like, wow, it's so real. Like,
Awesome question. Yes. Yes.
what was the first game you fell in love with?
That's easy for me. It's in the beginning of every one of my videos, and that is Hero on the Atari 2600. That was the first game I was obsessed with. You know, it was also pretty advanced for the Atari, and even to this day, I was playing it again last week because I still haven't beat it, which is pathetic. But there you go. It's my nemesis.
I think I have like 3 distinct stages of falling in love with a game, because I have 3. The first one was Rampage on the NES. I didn't think life could get better.
Nice.
And then I took a little break from gaming for a while in like elementary school and stuff, because I was obviously real busy. And Zelda on the 64 kind of brought me back, and I was like, why did I ever leave? This is so amazing. And like, that game's awesome. I used to beat it once a year. And then Final Fantasy IX is still like the pinnacle like of gaming experience for me.
That was,
It's so fucking good.
that was like a love letter.
You want to go play it now?
I do.
Mine's a Sonic CD. I still remember when I first played Sonic CD for the first time. The soundtrack, the cartoon intro. I actually want to play it right now.
I know, just talking about it.
We should have brought some
Great Sonic
TVs and
CD.
some class. You know, it's right there.
Oh man.
Dude,
So-
there's video. Speaking of which, did you intend to send me where you were singing Purple Rain that one time?
No, they leaked it and because
Classic.
Awesome.
He had no idea. It was awesome.
I have several. Real quick, Robotron 2084, which is my favorite game of all time. Remember playing in the arcades, and I love that game. I could play that game any day. Ninja Gaiden on NES, just a fantastic game. The whole like cinema scenes and stuff, just well done. And I gotta say, Ghouls and Ghosts on Sega Genesis. Like, I could play that game. I've beaten it. I've beaten it twice. I've beaten it with a special ending. I could just play that game over and over again. I still don't get tired of it. It's amazing.
I got scared. I thought you were gonna say the NES version.
Yeah, facepalm. Like, yeah, bad.
Should we pick Crazy Joe?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Crazy Joe. We're taking a chance here.
Do you guys have insurance on your collections?
Oh.
He knows where you live.
Yeah, and I'm in Portland.
Say yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I honestly do. I actually made a note about it in the forum about accidents happening. I live in an apartment building. If some guy blows up his stove or something like that, it's just good to have that backup because you probably won't recover your full collection, but at least you'll get compensated for it.
How do you with games skyrocketing in price, how do you keep them informed? Like, hey, this game went up $200. Like, how does that work?
I think you have to do it kind of like on an annual basis. I haven't done it in a while, and I have my stuff insured, but it's not insured nearly to what it's worth. I mean, that's I mean, like, even that's kind of, I get that asked that all the time. I'm like, I have no freaking idea, like, a lot. So
If you have a big collection and a lot of sought after stuff, hard to find, you might want to look into some kind of insurance just in case anything happens.
Yeah.
Seriously, because it's a chore to hunt some of this stuff down the way you had it and the way you want it. So just keep that in mind.
That was a relatively good question there, Joe.
Now he's gonna go rob all of our houses.
Watching you. All right, we have time for just one more. So go pick. Sure.
You right there.
Hey guys, so I think I got a question that speaks for everybody here. And with games now getting more and more expensive over time, at least from like 5 years ago, now do you guys think you're seeing a distance with profit and passion?
So, interesting. So what you're saying is like, are people buying or collecting to sell as opposed to play?
I mean, like, basically kind of resales, I guess, but
Yeah.
I would just add I would say that, like, what I'm kind of seeing is that people are buying stuff for like a status symbol in society. Like, I have this rare game, and they don't even know like the history of it or play it.
played it
You know,
all.
just
It's
like
going
I
on the
have this
shelf.
game.
Yeah.
You know, and Facebook's like the #1 place where people are lying. You know, they're like, hey, I have this. No, you don't.
Let's copy somebody's picture.
And
Yeah.
and so yeah, I think that there's still a lot of passionate gamers. I mean, if anything, there's more passionate gamers now because there's more people that grew up with them. But other people are seeing that and taking a financial advantage of it by you know, they see something rare and they want to have it as a financial status. And so people collect for different reasons. I don't judge someone for what they do. You know, like, you know, 'cause people see my collection as, well, you don't play it all, so how can you like it all? And, you know, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of an individual basis
Yeah.
for me.
I also think too that we've turned a corner a little bit in that maybe game collecting is a hobby, but gaming is not a hobby.
Correct.
I mean, you would never say, hey, I'm gonna go home and watch some TV as a hobby, or I'm gonna go to the movie theater as a hobby. Gaming is bigger than both of those things now.
Yeah.
And my mom games, almost everyone I know games, even if they don't call themselves a gamer, they game on this all the time. You'll see them, right? So we're just at that level, I think, where people are starting to collect all over the place and it's starting to encroach a little bit on our hobby, you know.
It
Yeah.
seems like it's become a trend now, you know, the popularity.
We're finally cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
We're taking over.
that's right. We are taking over.
Yes. So that's our panel. We are so happy that you guys came to this. I do want to ask a quick question though. So my YouTube channel is very close to 200,000 subscribers. So I wanted as a celebration to take a photo with you guys, if you wouldn't mind, because that sounds awesome. You guys are the reason why we're doing this. So is that cool? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm going to come down there. Rebecca, can you take a photo of us? No. Yes. This is my awesome wife, Rebecca, who's
So this is what it's like. I am standing.
Yeah, everybody stand up.
Everyone sits down and everybody can be seen and not get blocked by people in front. Yeah. I do this shit for his channel all the time.
he corrects it. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, everybody group together.
Sign rock.
Yeah, we got to do the sign of rock, everyone. All right. All right. Hang on. There's like a lot of people. God. All right, wait. All right. Try to get everybody in. Okay, you guys. Okay, ready, everybody? Yeah. Rock. Say rock and roll. Okay, I think we got it. Hang on. One more. Let me do one more.
This is my life.
Love you, sweetie. Love you. Okay, wait. It wasn't very clear. Let me do it one more time. All right. Rock and roll.